He bought a ranch for $1, then met the girl living inside. He bought the ranch for $1 because the man who sold it to him looked like he'd been waiting years to finally be free of it. The old clerk's hands trembled as he pushed the contract across the desk, eyes darting toward the window as if the land itself might hear and object. No guarantees, the clerk muttered. No disclosures. No questions after you sign. Daniel Holt didn't ask any. He didn't have the energy left for curiosity. Curiosity was a luxury for men with options, and Daniel had burned through his long ago. $1 lay on the counter, creased, sweat softened, carried in his wallet through job interviews that went nowhere, through nights in his truck where the cold crept in like regret. He signed because it was the first thing in months that didn't reject him. The ranch sat so far outside town that the road gave up trying to follow it. Asphalt cracked into gravel, gravel into dirt, dirt into nothing but two pale tracks cutting through scrub and silence. Daniel drove until his phone lost signal, until even the radio surrendered to static. The land opened wide and empty, stretching like something ancient and uninterested in him. When the ranch house finally appeared, it didn't rise proudly the way houses were supposed to. It leaned. Sagged. Endured. One corner had burned once, long ago, blackened beams still visible like old scars. Windows stared without reflecting the sky. The gate hung open, chains rusted through, as if even barriers had learned resistance was pointless here. Daniel parked and sat for a long moment, hands resting on the steering wheel. He had imagined this moment differently. He'd thought buying land, even cursed land, would feel like victory. Instead, it felt like stepping into a story that had already gone wrong long before he arrived. The wind pushed against the truck, rocking it gently, insistently, like a warning whispered over and over. When he stepped out, the air felt heavier than it should have, thick with dust and something else, something held. The porch boards creaked before he touched them. Not beneath his boots, before. Daniel froze. The sound came again, slow and deliberate, from inside the house. He told himself it was settling wood, heat and cold playing tricks. He told himself a lot of things in his life that turned out to be lies. His hand wrapped around the flashlight anyway. The door wasn't locked. It never had been. It opened with a long, tired groan, and the smell hit him first, smoke long faded, earth, rust, and something human that had learned to live quietly. The beam of light cut across the room, catching dust in the air like frozen stars. A table. One chair. Shelves lined with cans, labels peeled, dates long forgotten. Then the light moved, and stopped. Eyes. Wide. Dark. Unblinking. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. A girl stood near the back wall, barefoot, shoulders squared like she'd been preparing for this moment her entire life. She couldn't have been more than 20, maybe younger, her hair tangled and uneven like it had been cut with impatience instead of scissors. Dirt streaked her cheeks, but beneath it her face was sharp, alert. In her hands, held with both fear and determination, was a kitchen knife dulled by time but sharpened by desperation. "Don't come any closer," she said. Her voice shook, but it didn't break. Daniel raised his hands slowly, every instinct screaming at him to back away, to run, to pretend he'd never come. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, words chosen carefully, gently. "I didn't know anyone was here." She laughed once. Short. Bitter. "Nobody ever knows," she replied. "That's why I'm still alive." The silence that followed was dense, stretched tight between them. Daniel noticed then how thin she was, how her eyes kept flicking to exits, to shadows, to him again. This wasn't a squatter surprised by an owner. This was someone defending territory. "I bought the ranch," Daniel said finally, unsure why the words felt like an apology. "For $1. Her grip tightened on the knife. "Then they lied to you," she said. "Because this place doesn't belong to anyone." What came next didn't spill out all at once. It arrived in fragments, pauses, and sharp looks that measured whether truth was safe. Her name was Lily. She had lived here since she was 16. When the fire came, her father didn't make it out. Her mother left soon after, said she was going to town, said she'd come back with help. Help never came. Men did. Some curious. Some cruel. Lily learned when to hide, when to run, when to become invisible. The ranch taught her how. Daniel listened without interrupting, something he hadn't done well in his former life. He didn't offer solutions. He didn't promise rescue. He just stayed where he was, hands open, letting her story exist. Night fell without asking permission. They lit a lantern. The house breathed around them, old beams sighing, walls whispering memories neither of them could hear clearly but both could feel. They slept on opposite sides of the room that night, if sleep was the right word. Daniel lay staring at the ceiling, understanding something slowly, uncomfortably. The ranch wasn't empty because it was cursed. It was empty because it had been protecting someone. And now, for the first time, it wasn't sure who it belonged to anymore. Night came down hard on the ranch, not gently the way it did in places where people felt safe. Here, darkness arrived like a door slamming shut. The stars looked sharper, colder, as if they were watching instead of shining. Daniel sat on the porch steps, rubbing his hands together, feeling the ache of muscles that hadn't worked this hard in years. Behind him, the house creaked, not in protest, but in memory. Lily stood just inside the doorway, half in shadow, half in lantern light, eyes fixed on the horizon where the road disappeared into nothing. "You shouldn't have shown yourself today," she said quietly. "Now they know someone's here for real." Daniel didn't turn around. "They already knew," he replied. "They just didn't believe it mattered." Lily stepped onto the porch, her bare feet silent against the wood. She sat a few steps away from him, close enough that he could feel her presence, far enough that she could still run if she needed to. The wind carried the scent of dust and old smoke, and beneath it something else, rain, maybe, or change. The land often smelled different right before it decided to test people. "There's a reason this place costs $1, Lily said. "It's not just stories." Daniel waited. He had learned that forcing truth only drove it deeper underground. After the fire, she continued, men came looking for answers. Insurance. County. People who said they wanted to help. Her jaw tightened. They didn't believe a 16-year-old girl could survive alone. They said the ranch was uninhabitable. Condemned. She swallowed. One of them said it would be easier if I disappeared too. Daniel felt his hands curl into fists. "What did you do?" "I hid," she said simply. "I learned when to breathe quietly. When not to cry. When to let people think the land had swallowed me." She looked at him then, eyes reflecting lantern light like fire caught in water. "The ranch protected me because I learned how to belong to it." A low rumble echoed in the distance, not thunder, but something deeper. The ground seemed to settle, shifting its weight. Daniel had the strange thought that the land was listening. Later that night, the sound came again, but closer. Hooves. Not many. 2 horses, maybe 3. Lily was on her feet instantly, fear snapping through her like a live wire. "They came back," she whispered. Daniel stood, heart pounding, and followed her inside. She moved with purpose now, pulling a loose board from the floor near the wall. Beneath it was a narrow space leading downward. "Storm cellar," she said. "Old. Hidden. My father built it after someone threatened us years ago." Daniel hesitated only a second. "Go," he said. "I'll stay up here." "No," Lily replied sharply. "If they find you alone, they won't stop." She met his eyes. "If you're staying on this land, you don't stand apart from it. You stand with it." They descended into the cellar just as voices reached the porch. Lantern light flickered through cracks in the floorboards. Boots moved overhead. Someone kicked the door. Someone else laughed. "See?" a man said. "Told you. Someone's fixing the place up." Lily's breath came fast, shallow. Daniel positioned himself between her and the ladder, heart hammering so loud he was sure they'd hear it. Every second stretched thin, ready to tear. Then, nothing. The men left. Maybe curiosity wasn't worth the effort. Maybe the land decided it was done being bothered for the night. They stayed in the cellar long after the sounds faded. In the darkness, Lily's composure finally broke. Silent tears tracked down her face, years of fear leaking out in a space that had kept her alive. Daniel didn't speak. He simply stayed. When she leaned against him, shaking, he didn't move away. In that moment, something settled between them, not romance, not promises, but understanding. Two people who had lost everything finding shelter in the same broken place. When they climbed back up, dawn was already pushing against the horizon. Pale light crept across the land, revealing the ranch as it truly was, not cursed, not abandoned, but scarred and waiting. Daniel looked out over the fields and made a decision that scared him more than the men, more than the stories, more than the land itself. "I'm not leaving," he said. Lily turned toward him slowly. "People always say that at first." "I didn't say it because I'm brave," Daniel replied. "I said it because this place saved you. And maybe it can save me too." The wind moved through the grass, softer now. Almost approving. For the first time since the fire, Lily allowed herself to imagine a future that didn't involve hiding. And far beneath the ranch, where roots ran deep and memories never died, the land accepted him. If you believe even the most forgotten places can offer protection, subscribe now.